Ahoy there, me hearties. This be Captain Silverhook, and you're listening to the Two Old Pirates podcast. Set sail for an open sea of stories, tales, and some really crazy stuff. I expect you to like and subscribe, lest you be walking the plank. Ha ha ha!
Hello and welcome to the Two Old Pirates podcast, episode 136. I'm back with a brand new true crime story. Now, it's not recent, it's a long time ago, but I think that you'll still enjoy this. The only Catholic priest ever executed in the United States of America. You have to go back to 1881 in the Kingdom of Bavaria in the German Empire. And there was a boy named Hans Schmidt who was born. As he began growing up, getting into his teen years, he started having these feelings that we would call bisexuality. He was attracted to boys and girls. He started having bisexual relations with both boys and girls as he got older. He also began to abuse animals, and that's a sign of a sociopath. Once, he cut off the heads of two of his favorite geese just to carry them around in his pocket. So Hans was unstable, to say the least, as he was growing and maturing. He began to go to seminary school in Bavaria to become a Catholic priest. His mother was an ardent Roman Catholic parishioner. She brought Hans to Mass with her several times a day, every day. So this is all he knew, was this smothering idea of perfectionism and belief in the Catholic Church, and that he needed to be part of it. And so he went off to seminary school in 1901. He stayed at seminary school from 1901 to 1904, but he did not graduate due to his unbalanced mind. That's what the people there, the different priests and people that taught him some of his lessons, said, that he just wasn't okay. So they sent him away. What he did is he applied at the University of Munich and went there for a year. While there at the University of Munich, he made a fake doctorate on the actual paper that they had at the university to make it look very professional and legal. He returned back to the seminary and said, "Look what I have." They said that I've graduated from there. And they said, "Well, maybe you've grown up. Come on back to the seminary." So in 1906, he was let back in, eventually becoming ordained as a Roman Catholic priest. So things were working out for him, but he was already showing a lot of underhanded things. After he was part of the priesthood, the first church that he was given a little bit of time at, he was the assistant priest there. What happened was he was found to be molesting some of the choir boys. He was having affairs. He was having affairs with several women inside the church, and he was also hiring prostitutes on the sides. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he caught rheumatic fever, and it really knocked him out. He went back to his parents' house, and he was literally in bed for 9 months. In 1908, he was back up on his feet, and then he was arrested for fraud. German courts found him legally insane in 1909, and he was defrocked by the Catholic Church. He then took paperwork, forged it, and got on a boat to come to America in 1909 to start a new life. Arriving in the United States, I don't think a lot of people would understand because of the technology that we have nowadays, but all he had was a legal-looking piece of paper from a Catholic church in Germany saying he was a priest. So when he handed it to an American priest or a bishop here, they didn't have a phone. There was no such thing as those. I'm going to send a telegram all the way across the Atlantic about what was a normal procedure. Priests came and went. So the first church he actually got into was a church called St. Mary's in Louisville, Kentucky. After being there a very, very short time, he ended up getting into an argument with the senior pastor, and he said, "You got to move him." So they talked to a bishop, and the bishop said, "Okay, we're going to move him over to St. Francis in Trenton, New Jersey." So he shows up in New Jersey, and he simply could not get along with any of his fellow priests there at that church. They moved him to a place called St. Boniface's in New York City in 1910, December of 1910. And the housing or apartment, whatever you want to call it, that he was staying in, he met a 17-year-old young woman named Anna Amuller. Anna was a housekeeper. at the church, so she knew him as the local priest. She was from Austria-Hungary, and she had arrived on December 1st, 1910. Schmidt had arrived on December 4th, so she had only been there 72 hours in America at that church when she met Schmidt, Hans Schmidt. Upon seeing her for the first time, he collapsed in the hallway. As he saw her down the hallway, he collapsed, and she rushed towards him, knowing that he was a priest, to help him to his bed in his room. He looked at her, this is the first time they met, and pronounced his love for her, that he loved her. By December 7th, they were a couple, and they had already been physical. Schmidt was 29, Anna was 17. Also, right around the time that he had arrived, he struck up a homosexual relationship with a local dentist. The dentist's name was Ernest Murray. And also, besides having a romantic relationship with Ernest, they also started a counterfeiting ring of fake money. After upsetting some people at this latest church, he was moved to St. Joseph's in Harlem. Although he was not in the same church, him and Anna still continued to have a sexual relationship. Then in the spring of 1913, Hans said that he had received a command from God. And the message from God was, you must sacrifice Anna. He went to Anna and told her, God spoke to me today when I was giving a mass and said, I have to kill you. Anna, being 17, thought he was crazy and told him, you're crazy. Soon after that, Anna let him know she was pregnant. On September 2nd, 1913, Hans went to the apartment that he shared with Anna. They had told the person who ran the apartment that they were actually a wedded couple, so it wouldn't look like they were living in sin. That night he slashed Anna's throat. She was asleep, and he attacked her. He also said he drank her blood as she was dying. He then sexually assaulted her corpse. He then cut her body up in several pieces. He went out on a ferry on the Hudson River and dumped the pieces, one at a time, off the side of the boat. Hans returned the same night to St. Joseph's to give Mass that evening. Only 3 pieces of Anna were ever found: her upper torso, her lower torso, and her right thigh. When the torsos were found, it contained all of the organs other than the pancreas. Her uterus did not have a fetus in it, but doctors were able to say that she had had a natural birth within 3 days of her death. Part of the body was found in a unique pillowcase, and on that pillowcase was the tag for a local business in New Jersey. So they went there to ask about this pillowcase being sold. And the owner said, oh yes, somebody came in and they bought a mattress, a box spring, 2 pillows, and 2 pillow casings. I had ordered 12 pillow casings, but only 2 sold out of the group that I had bought. And they'd been sold to a man with the name H. Schmidt, and that he had had them delivered to his apartment. The police spent 3 days staking out that apartment, waiting for Hans to come back, or whoever H. Schmidt was. They finally broke in and they found large amounts of dried blood all over the walls and the floor. They found a large knife, and they found the saw that was used to cut Anna up. They found letters to the local church, and it said that Anna had decided to leave. In the course of the investigation, they found out that she had a cousin named Joseph Eagler, and they went and paid Joseph a visit. Once they had talked to him, Joseph said that the one thing that he could remember is that Anna said that she had spent a lot of time with a Father Schmidt, who was new at St. Joseph's Church. Detectives arrived at 11:30 p.m. Once the detectives found that Schmidt was asleep in the rectory where the priests sleep, he was awoken and yelled, I killed her, because I loved her. So he admitted the crime. He then described in great detail the murder and the cutting up of the body and the dumping of it in the Hudson River. The Archdiocese of New York suspended his priestly duties, was not defrocked. He was not thrown out of the Catholic Church. They just suspended his ability. Hans ended up pleading guilty by reason of insanity. At his first trial, the defense said that his strange bisexuality and also the recorded medical reports over 60 members of his extended family having mental illness should have been enough to say there's something wrong with this guy. In December of 1913, the jury was hung. A second trial was set for 2 weeks later. And on February 5th, 1914, a second jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. He was given the death penalty. His defense team filed an appeal right away. But by December of 1914, he had admitted that he had faked the whole thing about insanity. Now he said it was his homosexual lover, the dentist, who had accidentally killed Anna in a botched abortion after he had found out that she had been pregnant. He said he took the fall for Ernest because he loved him. Ernest denied this through and through. And there was no proof to say that Ernest had anything to actually do with Anna dying. The execution was on. On February 18th, 1916, Hans went to the electric chair at Sing Sing at 5:50 a.m. in the morning. His last words were, quote, "My last thought is for my mother. Please give my mother my last goodbye." After 3 jolts of electricity, he was declared dead 8 minutes later. Due to World War I, although his family wanted his body sent back to Europe so that it could be buried, there was a World War going on. There's no way to ship him back. So his remains were buried at Sing Sing prison where he died. Now, to end this story about old Hans, and you say, well, he did kill that one woman possibly, and maybe even her baby. The police believe that Hans may have been also responsible for up to at least 4 more murders. And the 4 that they attached to him were a woman named Helen Green that he was seen with several times, and she seemed to disappear off the face of the planet. Second one was right after he got to the United States, there's a woman that he's seen walking around with, and he'd tell everybody, oh, this is my wife, this is my new wife, this is my wife. And that was in Kentucky, and she was never seen again. Number 3, sadly, was a 5-year-old boy that sometimes Hans would bring back to his apartment that he shared with Anna. He told everybody there that it was his son. At one time when the boy was leaving, somebody yelled out, "Hey, little boy, what's your name?" And he said, "My name is August Van Dyke." So we at least have a possible name for that young man. That 5-year-old was never seen again. And finally, way back in Kentucky when he first got here to the United States and was a priest, there was a little girl named Alma Kellner. She was 9, and her body was found buried in the basement of the church that he had served Mass at before he was relieved for arguing with the priest there. So that's the story of Hans Schmidt, the German priest that fooled the Catholic Church in Europe, fooled the Catholic Church in the United States, and eventually killed Anna. Was he always mentally ill? I think that you could look at his history, his family history, and the things that he did and said, and knew that there was something wrong with him. But evidently there was also a part of him that was very sly, to where he could go ahead and make it look like he graduated from the University of Munich, to the seminary school that had kind of thrown him out. I mean, then he did away with being a priest for all the things that he did, and then he gets to come to the United States with faked papers and become a priest at least 4 different churches. And along the way, he, counterfeited money, had numerous affairs. The one thing that's tied around him was Anna and her murder and the probable murder of the child. But that's the story of Hans Schmidt, the only Catholic priest ever executed in the history of the United States. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back real soon with a new episode. Until then, peace.